So it is 7 o'clock, and I want to be sure and keep us on time. We've got a lot going on. I'm really, really excited. Everybody that's on, thanks so much. Like we were talking about in the last week, there's been a ton that's happened. It's crazy to think that, you know, a week ago on Friday, we were just still waiting for our election integrity bill, and you know, how is it going to work? And, you know, it's been a big battle. So we've got a lot that we've accomplished. And so the first part of the call, we're going to go over the election integrity bills and what we've accomplished this session, because I think that definitely Senator Hughes, Chairman Klick, Representative Jetton, and our Republican representatives, you know, they deserve a lap around the victory track on that. I know there's it was a lot of hard work. They had to stay up there, even though the Democrats had fled. You know, there was no going home for the Republicans. They had to hang out and wait until the Democrats came back. So our representatives were doing their job, and the Democrats were AWOL. So today on the, just to put it out front, we're going to review the election integrity and what we've accomplished, and thank everybody too for all your hard work in the first part of the call. And then the second part of the call, you know, we've got another job that's come up, redistricting. They're having hearings. And so we're going to go over an example of someone that's become involved and was a novice and now has testified. And then we're going to have Donna Davidson give us exactly how to sign up and register. So we're not going to take any questions this morning on election integrity because we want to transition. And the next 10 years depends on our redistricting and what happens with redistricting in the next few months. So we all want to get our name and our voice in the room and see what we can do. So thanks everybody for being on the call. I need to check something here. Okay. Okay. Chairman Klick, since you're already on the call, could you start off the redistricting review for us? And I'm going to try to get somebody linked in that's got a lot of good information.
Election integrity.
Not redistricting, I'm sorry, the election integrity. My mind is skipping. So if you would review the election integrity for us, and I'll be right back.
The good news is Senate Bill 1 passed. It was a 12-hour battle. Chairman Murr did an outstanding job. There were, I think, 60 amendments offered on that bill. And before it was over, I mean, he could barely talk, and he could lost his voice for several days after standing up there and defending against a lot of the Democrat amendments. After the bill, when the bill was on the floor of the House, Representative Murr made some amendments to it. So it is pretty much the same or very, very similar to the Senate bill versus the bill that the House passed out. I know there were folks that were more excited about the contents of the Senate bill, but when it left the House, they were pretty substantially similar on that. And so that is on its way to the governor. I'm not sure yet when he will actually sign that bill. I suspect that there will be a formal signing, although I've not heard that yet. And you know, that has been a months-long battle, and we're finally across the finish line. So that we sine died last night, and now we will wait on the governor to call us back to do a redistricting session. A couple of the Democrat senators have actually sued, trying to stop a special session for the purposes of redistricting. They don't like the idea that we're doing this in a special session. But quite frankly, because the census was delayed, we could not do it during the session. It was going to have to be in a special session. What they would like is for the courts to draw the maps rather than the legislature, who has that job, in our state constitution. So we will see how that works out in the courts.
Thank you, Representative Klick. And I believe I saw Representative Jetton, you're on. Would you give us a little highlights of the election integrity as you see it?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning, everyone. We finally did it. It took a while. It's been good to be with y'all over the last several months leading up to this moment. But yes, as Chairman Klick mentioned, we managed to get the SB1 through. We did get it matched up a lot with SB1. I'd argue that this is a more conservative bill than what they killed in the regular session. They were definitely not rewarded for their actions. I would say, just kind of recapping what we've accomplished between the regular session and now, you look at the Zucker bucks being banned. You look at the SB 598 with the paper ballot backups on all the machines, the risk limiting audits, the defining who's allowed to be in the polling location, the ballot board areas, and then everything that's in SB1, this massive elections bill that just addresses so much between what we've talked about since 2005 in the Baker Carter report to things that have come up all the way up to the recent election cycle. We've addressed so many of the issues and concerns and that have just come up over the years to address future elections. And so I'm really proud of what we have in there. I think that a lot of the issues we will going forward be able to have confidence in our elections because of the things that we put in there for our machines and the processes and the consistencies and this prescriptive nature of the statutes now. And so I think we've accomplished a lot on that, and I appreciate all y'all's help on making sure that we got this through to the end. And we've accomplished a lot these sessions, and I have no doubt that we're going to continue to work on this because we're going to continue to find new issues, just as Chairman Klick mentioned on that. It's one of those never-ending things, and we will continue to make our elections stronger. Sticking with it, we want it to be easy to vote and hard to cheat, and so we're going to continue on that mission. And it's been good working with all y'all through this whole process. And I guess I'll add on real quick with the redistricting. I'm on that committee as well, and the lawsuits have started. It is important for us to consider, especially
been on the job for like 8 months now.
Peter, I think you're unmuted. But so when it comes to redistricting, we are there's something that we internally we're restrict on. It is we want to make sure that the process is fair, that everybody gets fairly represented across the state of Texas, that the process is transparent. That's what this process, this redistricting committee process, is all about, is being transparent. And so we'll have redistricting hearings, and we encourage your participation in those to talk about your community, your neighborhoods, the things that are important to your areas, and why it's important for those to be contained in a certain district with certain representatives. And we want it to be legal. There's a lot of legal requirements to how this ends up looking when it comes to county line rules and packing and cracking and a whole bunch of different terminologies that I'm learning now as to how these districts have to come out. And so we're working through that process, and you'll start to see maps come out soon. And just know that we're going to try and make this process, as I said, fair, transparent, and legal as we go through this. And so we look forward to working with y'all on that. Thank
you so much, Representative Jetton. And I I've been working with getting Senator Hughes in. I had some miscommunications on my part. You know, I'm new at this. So, but we have Senator Hughes with us. If you would, Senator Hughes, if you'd give us a little insight on the election integrity and bill and all the success that we've had there.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having us on. And I'm glad you, of course, we're delighted to hear from Representative Jetton. He knows the election code so well from his experience before he came to the House. And of course, he won a hard-fought campaign for the House, won a seat the Democrats just knew they were going to win. And the Lord had other plans. And Representative Jetton has so we have him to thank for a lot of the victories in the House. But I'll just say, Senate Bill 1 passed by the House and the Senate, in which the governor will be signing in a matter of days in a formal signing ceremony, is something we can all be thankful for and proud of. And it is our victory. It is everyone's victory, everyone on this call. Many of you I know personally, and I know you've been laboring and making calls and emails and praying and working, and it's really something. Let me just tell you this. I was able to meet with a number of state legislators from around the country a few weeks ago. We had the author of the Georgia bill, their election integrity bill, Pennsylvania, Florida, and many secretaries of state. I just want to encourage you a little bit. In Texas, we are in so much better shape in terms of elections. Many of these Republican states are just now getting voter ID. I'm talking about in-person voter ID. Many of them have universal ballots by mail, and you know what the opportunities are for cheating there. Many of them don't have near the safeguards we have. So we really do have the best system in the country, and we're blessed. And with Senate Bill 1, it's going to get a whole lot stronger. And so y'all know the issue so well. I want to tell you everything. You know what it's like as conservatives. We'll have the gold standard. Here's the bill, the gold standard. Here's what we'd like to pass, and we'll get as close as we can. I've got to tell you, by God's grace, Senate Bill 1 this time, all of the big things that we wanted, that the grassroots conservatives wanted, all of those things are either in this bill or in another bill that we passed in the regular session. All of the major things and most of the little things. There's one or two elements we're going to come back for, but it's just very, very exciting. And really, it's going to be much, much harder to cheat. And yes, it's going to be much, much easier to vote. And we're so excited about this. The media, as you know, has been, how do I say this? They've been lying. We're all accustomed to media bias and having to deal with that, but I've never seen it so bad as we have on this bill. But now they have other stuff to worry about with the heartbeat bill and other great laws that are taking effect. But Senate Bill 1 Texas will, I'm not just beating my chest, Texas will have the best election system in the country. It's going to be more reliable than it was. So many problems we've seen. We've heard from people on this call are addressed in that bill. I know Dion is on here, who's so respected in the grassroots on elections, and she's been involved for a long time. She came on board and working in the Senate, officially helping us with that bill. And I could go down the list of people on this call who've helped so much, but I'm happy to go into detail. I think y'all know the bill so well. You've read it and heard me ramble about it, but I just cannot tell you what a victory this is. The Lieutenant Governor and I were talking about this. Well, the whole Senate Republican caucus was talking about this last night. And Senate Bill 1 is one of the biggest bills passed in modern history. I know that sounds arrogant, but it's a big deal. And Texas already had a good system compared to other states, and we plugged the holes, made it better. It's very exciting, and we'll be. If you've seen the bill, we've all talked about it. Easy to vote, hard to cheat, and we'll be sending out details on it. But we have a whole lot to be thankful for, and I just can't tell you how strong the House was and the Senate, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the speaker. It's a bill that we're all going to be proud of. And even those Democrats who fought it, they're going to find that elections will run better for everyone. And I know people on this call, we just want a fair fight. We're going to win. As conservatives, we have the winning ideas. If the elections are run fairly and honestly, we win. And that's what we're going to have. So we're very, very, very encouraged.
Well, I think everyone is very thankful for the leadership and the persistence and all the hard work that the Senate and the House did. And we look forward to all of those new laws being enacted to protect our elections and make sure it is, you know, easy to vote and hard to cheat. So we really, really appreciate all that. We're going to transition now into the next item, which is redistricting. And our redistricting is coming up next week. That we're going to have, there's going to be testimony in the Senate and in the House. Senator Hughes, would you speak to how important it is to get our voice in the room?
Oh, I'd be happy to. You know, of all the bills that we pass, redistricting and bills and pro-life bills are the ones where we know we're going to end up in court. We know we're going to have federal judges looking over our shoulder. And in the area of redistricting, there's so much federal law that we have to follow. And so everything we do is taken down. Everything you say will be taken down and used against you, as they say. I know none of you ever heard those words officially, but you've seen them on TV. Anyway, the federal courts look at all these things. And so when we have these hearings, we're building a record, an official record. Y'all know this. Many on this call have testified. But it's really important in redistricting that our voices are heard, that there's evidence in the record to support what we're doing. And so, yes, it's real important. Obviously, because of COVID-19, we have to do it in a different way. We would prefer in-person hearings around the state. We got to do some of that over in the House, but this time it'll be pretty much virtual Zoom. Many of you have already done it, and I know you're going to have some technical information about it. But yes, it is so important. And you know what happens. Texas already has 36 members of the U.S. Congress. Of those 435 U.S. House members, 36 are based in Texas. We're going to get 2 more. We're going to have 38, which is outstanding because people are moving here. We're growing because we have opportunity. We have liberty here. And so we're also going to redraw the lines for the Texas House, the Texas Senate, the State Board of Education. We do this once every 10 years. Y'all know this, and we just cannot overstate how important it is that we get this right. As Representative Jetton said, we're going to follow the Constitution. We're going to follow the law. And again, we're conservatives. We believe in the rule of law. We follow the rules. We're not afraid of that. That's good for everyone. And if we follow the rules, we're going to get good maps. We're going to get fair maps. And fair maps in Texas are maps that conservatives will do well under because Texas is still a conservative state. And we have a winning message. So yeah, it is so important. There's some encouragement, and I don't want to get ahead of us, but you know, we were sued last week. 2 Democratic members of the Texas Senate sued us to stop us from doing redistricting. They raised some kind of a technical point based on the Texas Constitution, and y'all are experts on this call. You know, redistricting cases in federal court are handled by 3-judge panels. There are 2 judges from the trial court level, district judges, and 1 appellate judge, a circuit judge. So 1 from the 5th Circuit, that's the circuit judge, and then 2 federal district judges from Texas. Well, the 2 Democrats sued us over redistricting already, even before we passed any maps. They sued us, and the panel that we have drawn, the panel we received, we have 1 judge, Judge Garcia from San Antonio, a pretty liberal Democrat who always rules against us on redistricting. But the other 2 judges are federal Judge Jeff Brown from Galveston County. Some of you will remember him from the Texas Supreme Court, a rock-solid, conservative, constitutional judge. And then the 3rd judge is Judge Jerry Smith from the 5th Circuit Court of Appeals, I believe a Reagan appointee, a conservative constitutional scholar. So again, we trust judges to follow the law. The good news for us is 2 of the 3 judges who will hear this first redistricting case this cycle are conservative constitutional judges. So we're very encouraged to be off on the right foot.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Hughes. Chairman Klick, would you sort of add on to that? I know that you were the one that told me that they had sued in Travis County.
All I would say is, you know, there have been so many lawsuits filed during special sessions, and it is designed to delay, obstruct, thus far, they've not been very successful in the courts. Not just on redistricting, but a whole variety of issues. So this is just, another delay tactic.
Right. Representative Jetton, do you have comments on our redistricting before we launch? How important it is for the people to come to the House as well as the Senate?
Sure. No, I think Hughes and Klick have summed it up pretty well. We do want your participation. It helps, just as it did with elections, and we need your feedback. You know your areas and your community better than anyone else, and so share your thoughts and concerns with us, and we look forward to going through this process with you.
So to give a personal account, Dion, are you on? Dion Starnes has been, she's been a stalwart redistricting champion, and she was telling, all right, Dion, I'm gonna, so Dion Starnes, who is with SREC, and she had testified in redistricting. Give us your story, Dion. Oh, is Dion on? Okay, Donna Davidson, I'm going to call on you. So in order to testify, you need to register. And so Donna Davidson is going to explain to us how you can register. There's different procedures for the House and different procedures for the Senate. So while Donna gives you that, I am going to try to get a hold of Dion. So take it away, Donna.
Well, and Besa, you didn't ask me to do this, but I'm also redistricting outside counsel for the Republican Party of Texas from the last go around. And I've been involved in redistricting for a couple of decennial terms, I guess you could say. So I'll go ahead and in case Dion's ready, I'd like for her to say something before. Let me just give you a little bit of background. Y'all may recall that it was as recently as the 90s that it was the Republicans that were joining forces with the minority, like Malk and everybody, Malduff, in a suit against Ann Richards, that then became the suit against George Bush when he won. So please understand, it's always the party in power that gets sued by whomever feels like they're left out. Now, and remember, guys, 1961 was the first time since Reconstruction that the state of Texas had the first statewide elected Republican. Do y'all realize that's in some of our lifetimes, and it's way before some of y'all's, but 61 is not that long ago. I was actually alive. I was one, but John Tower was the first Republican that was elected statewide as a United States Senator. And it's because the Democrats were fighting against each other, rather vote for, a yellow dog than so-and-so, right? And so when that special election happened, the Republicans were unified and we managed to get that first statewide office. When I was working in state government in the Texas House, the Democrats were all still in control and they were drawing all the lines. I started back in 85. By the time we got to the 91 session and we passed those maps, George Bush was then elected in 95. This is a historical perspective so that you understand this is something that always occurs. Everybody needs to participate so there's enough evidence when it goes to court, which the attorney's fees issue is still being litigated from the last go around in 2010. Just got an order extending the motion to file for those attorney's fees. Who won? Unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, there were some changes that were made to the congressional and to the House maps. Those are the ones that we've been running under or having our candidates run under. How does this affect everything? It does. Please go out and testify. Now, it is different. In a COVID year, it is different, but the record is imperative. A lot of the evidence that gets presented at redistricting hearings is trying to make it sound like minorities are being slighted. They're being packed. It's not necessarily a community of interest. So you have to go. I mean, Shirley and I have a little bit of a, well, and I don't go testify because I'm usually outside counsel, but I'm a Garcia. I'm not a Democrat. Most people see me and they think I am. Wherever I might be, they just automatically assume I'm a Democrat, and I'm not. And I haven't been for many years. But I only had a Democrat primary to vote in back in 1978, when was the first time I could vote. That was all that was available to me in Mission, Texas. The Valley is imperative. Do y'all have contacts in the Valley that can make sure that they are getting out there and testifying? The conservatives, it doesn't have to be a Republican, it can be a conservative, but try to get there, try to go vote, and make your voice heard by how you're doing things, and make your voice count by getting ready and registering to testify. So is it screen sharing, guys? Because this is my first time in a while. Okay, good. Besa. And I need to thank Besa. She told me she was going to get these ready. And I said, I'm so glad, because I have no time to do this. So we're going to go into a slideshow. This is going to be for the Texas Senate first. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm going to try to make it actually work as a slideshow. So if you're going to register to testify in the Texas Senate, you have to go online. This is where you go for pretty much everything, capitol.texas.gov. And we will make these PowerPoints available on our website, so don't hesitate. I mean, you don't have to take notes. This is where it takes you. This is what it looks like. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Senate right now. So if you see under Texas Senate where that arrow is, that's where you go to the committee that you want to go to. This, again, is to get ready for testimony. So it's the committee of the whole Senate that will hear it, or redistricting as a special. You'll notice that committee of the whole Senate is kind of highlighted. It used to be always that the rule was that the redistricting committee was a committee of the whole Senate. Now, you go to meetings. Once you go to the Senate Committee on Redistricting, okay, then go to meetings. So you see how there's a little underline. And right at the underline, when you click on that, it'll take you here. So what do you need to know? This is where you can find the actual hearing notice. You'll see the dates, you'll see the times, you'll see everything, but the notice will have all the details. So click on the icon, and this is where it tells you that no in-person testimony will be taken. So this next redistricting hearing will be on Tuesday, September 7th. How do you participate? Well, you have to then, oh, I'm sorry, I have somebody trying to get in, so I'm going to admit them. There we go. All right. So witness registration instructions. Do you see this little area that has the bold? This is where you complete the witness registration. Sorry, I'm getting these waiting rooms. I'm getting them in. Sorry. Okay. Complete the witness registration form available here. So you need to go to that link, click on that. And once you've gone there, then it will get you to the form. So this is the meeting registration. It's all region public input hearing. So this one specifically for September 7th, you would input all of your information. Now, please know that when you are registering for a hearing, you need to make sure that your information is typed in correctly. They will possibly need to contact you to verify that's you. They may or may not contact you. You just need to make sure that you've typed it in right. Don't accidentally transpose some letters or numbers and then you're not found somewhere. We don't want any of that. You also say that by typing your name, you register and you're affirming that you are going to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So once you've registered, that is the most important thing that you can do. And then let your voice be heard. Be as succinct as you can, but also ensure that you are making your points. Besa, I'm going to put you on the spot for a second. Do we have any sample testimonies? I know that's part of what Dion was going to talk about, but do we have any sample testimonies or any recordings of previous testimonies or anything that's been submitted previously by some?
So what we're going to do is we have some points of consideration that everyone should review prior to testifying. And Dion was telling me that it was really important that when you go and testify about redistricting, that even though while you're in there, you might hear someone else, in particular the Democrats or someone else, speaking to other issues, but it's best not to speak on that. You need to speak directly to redistricting, keep it very data-driven, very voter-driven, boundary-driven, and ignore any taunts that you might hear in other testimony because you're not going to be given that much time. So we will be emailing out some points of consideration that everybody should look at, and they would be starting points.
Have you gotten a hold of Dion yet? I just wanted to give her an opportunity between presentations if she was available.
I've emailed her, but I'm not sure exactly.
You want me to text her or have you texted her too?
I've already done that. So just
Okay.
go through the house.
All right.
Go through the house.
Registering. Yes, ma'am. Here we go. So same place. You remember when we did the Senate, the very next place to go was the capital.texas.gov. And this time under Texas House, which is above Texas Senate, then you go to committees. Once you've selected committees, you really have to go down a ways to go find redistricting. There is not a special committee on redistricting. It is the committee on redistricting. So you want to make sure to go to the right area. And then this is obviously the composition. Representative Jetton is on there. Representative Murr is also on there. He was the chair for the Election Integrity Bills Committee. So that's a good thing. There are several excellent members, but I just wanted to point those out to you. So on September 8th at 4 o'clock will be the meeting on redistricting. These again will be very important. And I want to second what Besa said about focus. You do not want your testimony to be taken out of context. So I'm going to give an egregious example of what I tell some of my candidate and office holder clients when I'm not a political person, I'm not a consultant, but I just say, don't answer the question asked if it's asked in a very negative way. For example, if somebody says, how often do you beat your wife? And you answer, I don't beat my wife. Guess what everybody hears? I don't beat my wife. Excuse me, we don't want you having a little sound bite of I don't beat my wife, because then that raises a question, why did that question even come up? The answer is, how often do you beat your wife is, I've been married to my wife for 40 years. I love my wife dearly. And we are just so excited to be celebrating our anniversary, blah, 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 in March of 2022, whatever. But do you see what I'm saying? You have not restated a negative. When Besa was talking about taunting, they will use those words that they want you to say that are negative. Do not use those words, please. Do not fall or succumb to them. Okay, so here is where a member of the public may request an invitation to provide testimony virtually. So this is where you would be able to do that. And so please be aware that you need to do that in advance. Information about in-person witness registration can be found at this link. There are, you can, if you take an iPad, an iPhone, whatever, you can register when you're there in the Capitol building to do in person. You can also do that then. So here's how you would go about it. If you notice, it says that House administration has made the witness registration paperless. The 5-step registration process will be using touchscreen kiosks, or you can also use, I believe, your iPad or your phone. You just need to make sure that you have a profile. Remember what it is. I've forgotten mine every time that I've gone in to testify. So I almost have to reset my password every time. Just know what it is and take notes of it. Also, here is where you can access, as I mentioned, through your iPad, potentially, or through the iPad that's outside the hearing room. So I think that pretty much covers how you would go about registering to testify. Remember, your testimony is very important. And I'm going to actually also encourage you, there are little municipal groundwater conservation districts that are going through redistricting. Your counties and cities are going through redistricting. It's not just in the Texas House and Texas Senate. These will affect some of those redistricting processes, but the census data is out there. My colleagues already been manipulating it for our clients, which include counties and groundwater conservation districts. So if you have an opportunity to testify at any redistricting hearing, your local ones as well, that's important for you to be a part of it.
Thank you, Donna. That's all really great information. And I know everybody's wanting to know, hey, can we get this? We are going to it'll be on our live stream. And then we're also going to make the PowerPoint accessible through the TAD Talks. So we're still going to make that accessible for everyone. Dion, I'm going to see if Dion made it in. Dion, did you make it in? I think she might be having some technical difficulties. I talked to her this week, and let me sort of give you a brief overview of her experience. So 2 years ago, Dion was not she wasn't an expert at redistricting or anything. And there was a need for witnessing, some testimony on redistricting. So Dion was called because she's a government teacher. She's pretty sharp. So they called her and she educated herself. She goes down and she attends one of the first hearings. And she was like the only person from the conservative side. And the next 2 hearings, she was able to get other people to the hearings, and ended up where there was more conservative voices in the room than there were the other side. So she was urging everybody, don't worry that you're not an expert. You can speak to transportation issues. You can speak to your county and communities of interest. You can speak to how the state of Texas in this last election was a conservative state, and therefore, our new districts need to represent our conservative majority interest. So I'm sorry Dion couldn't be on, and she has shared some information that we're going to post and put up. And right now I'm going to let Karen Marshall, I believe you have some redistricting questions. You can put our experts on the hot seat.
All right, let's fire up the hot seat. The first question comes from Mike Deffendahl. He says, what if maps for the precincts and Senate districts are not finalized by the legislature and courts in time for the conventions?
As you'll recall, this has come up before in the 2012 cycle because of redistricting. Remember, we went through the normal filing period. You file for office in December of the odd numbered year before the election. That had already happened, and because of redistricting litigation, we had to open the filing period again, and we had to delay the primary. In fact, some of you will recall in that election cycle, we went to our convention, and we had our primary runoffs process was still going on. It happened again, and it's happened once or twice for other reasons. So we did pass legislation, pardon me, to push back the primary if we need to. It looks to us like we should have it in time to get it done where it will not affect our party conventions. It could. The primary could get pushed back, the primary and the runoff, if we don't get it done in time. but we don't expect it to affect the convention. And if I'm wrong, I'll certainly defer to Representative Jetton, Chairman Klick, anybody else on the call. Our thinking is if we can be done with these maps on the schedule we're on, again, coming back for those hearings next week, and then we anticipate the governor will call us back for the redistricting special session in mid to late September. Y'all may have already seen official dates, but most folks feel like it's going to be around September the 20th or thereabouts. So if we come back September 20th and we've finished our hearings and done everything we're supposed to do, we should be able to get the maps done in time to not have to move the primary, but we're prepared to move it if we have to. I don't believe we expect it to affect the convention, but there's always that possibility. And I'll defer to anybody else who's got better information than that.
Well, it's not better information, but it's supplemental. I believe the State Republican Executive Committee, in anticipation of some things, possibly changed some rules this last go around. And I believe our executive director at RPT is on this call. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but I will say that even in the event that a primary is not held, there's an oath of affirmation that can be filled out. That's how we did that way back then, because usually you affiliate with a party by voting in the primary. And if the primary is extended, you can still have the conventions using oaths of affirmation. I just thought I'd supplement with that, which is what we did last time.
Good. Thank you.
Donna, this is Steve Ministeri, if I could add to that, because I was the chairman when that happened. We had the primary moved twice, if you remember. So we were on the third time, and we had to, on the fly, redo how we picked our delegates. But we were able to get it done, and Donna's correct. We had a process set up. So the runoff was actually after the state convention. So for those of you that were there, we had a little bit of a different type state of convention because Ted Cruz and David Dewhurst were locked in a runoff. So we didn't have a ticket to present, but it all worked out in the end.
All right, the next question comes from James Brandon. He says, what are the chances the Democrats take off again during redistricting?
So I'll just say, I'll let our friends in the House who are going to be experts on this, but I'll say it didn't turn out so well for them leaving to stop the voting integrity bill. They got beat up. They got beat up even in the traditional media. Folks did not like what they did, except for the most liberal districts. That was not popular even for the Democrats. Those Democrats who are in suburban seats and in some of the more rural areas in the valley, they really got beat up for it. And I'll say this, we are seeing divisions in the Democratic Party like we have never seen. Open fighting, not physical fighting, but openly words of war of words going back and forth on Twitter and Facebook and in the press among Democrats, between the ones who stayed and the ones who came back. I believe it was a disaster for them. And at the end of the day, we passed a strong constitutional election integrity bill. So I'll defer to my friends in the House, but I think if the Democrats do that, it's going to be, I think they know that it's not going to be good for them if they do. But I'd love to hear what our friends in the House have to say about that.
Chairman Klick?
Even in Democrat districts, the polling that I have seen, their running away is not helping them at all. In fact, I think part of the reason why they came back is they know that the polling in their districts, even in Democrat districts, was not going their way. So, I think at the end of the day, that there's always the possibility that they may leave again because they, demonstrated, but they have not been rewarded for doing that.
All right. The next question comes from SREC Marion Stanko. She says, what date do you predict will be the primary election day based on redistricting issues? March 1st, April 5th, May 24th, or
I believe we can hope. I believe we have a good shot at keeping our primary on schedule. And we have legislation to move it if we need to, but coming back when we're coming back for and doing all the hearings, finishing all the hearings in time, I'm optimistic we can be on track. Of course, we won't know for sure, but I'm optimistic that we can get this done in time and keep the regular schedule.
All right. That leads into her second question. And then when will precinct chairs file? Because they must know their precinct numbers before they can file.
I believe
Do you,
that
Don, or somebody knows that? Go ahead.
the bill that we had that was filed that deals with the possibility of moving the primary election should it be needed also deals with the filing for precinct chairman. And as I recall, that bill had it filing they would actually run during the runoff period. Yeah, it takes longer to actually draw those precincts boundaries than some of the districts.
And just so you know, there is a law that talks about when it's been redistricted and timing of same, and it's a vacancy then. I would just suggest that if a precinct chairman candidate has already filed, because the filing period opens in September, and then things get changed, that they need to be kept aware, and they need to keep watching the commissioner's court and the different precinct drawings, and then know if they are eligible or if it's vacant or what's happened.
All right. The next question comes from Susan Patrick. She says, where do we find the first maps? Is District Viewer where maps will appear first?
The data was just added a few days ago to go live, but we do not yet have maps. The data had to be loaded in Apple Viewer for us to begin that process.
But when the data is available, will the maps be, like, for example, on Texas Legislature Online in District Viewer?
I think I pulled that up, and I think it's going to be on the Texas Legislative Council. They have a district viewer, and then we can pull that and put that out. And they do have, I believe, the first maps with the census data and the current districts. And so you can go in there and you can pull up. I've looked at like our House district and Senate district. So you can go in there, but there's been no proposed new maps that I have seen. But once they do that, then there'll be different plans that they'll put up there, and you can click on those plans and it'll show you, which plan has what district.
All right. And the last question comes from Kathleen Brinkman. She says, what type of information do you give when testifying? What is supportive?
I'm not sure if the senator could speak to that since he's receiving testimony. Chairman Klick, do you have any comments? Can you comment on that or not?
A little bit. I mean, you want fair maps. You want communities of interest to remain together, if at all possible. You want a transparent process. Communities of interest, all of those things are in what that looks like in each individual community is a little different.
That's right. And I would say there may be situations where someone on this call has a specific concern because of the community I live in. I think that these two neighborhoods should be in the same district, or I think that within my county, this is where the line should be drawn. Most of us are not going to have that level of detail, but if you do, if it's important to you that certain counties be kept together in your area and you feel strongly about that, this is your chance to say that. But beyond that, most of us don't have that kind of detail. Most Texans don't. Chairman Klick's correct. We just talk about those concepts. Texas is a conservative state, and we want to make sure that the maps reflect the voting of Texans. We want to make sure that that's really what we're looking for. Those concepts are what matter.
Yeah, one of the things that I've seen in consideration too is that typically the growth is for the 10 years is into the suburban areas. So, you know, there's a concern in the suburban areas. They want to make sure that future growth is considered, you know, looking at the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a lot more growth in some suburban areas. So those districts, you know, that should be accounted for as well. So that's another thing. But we will email out the points of consideration that Dion has given us and some other people. I know there in Denton County, Dion was aware of the precincts and she made actually 2 different proposals in her testimony. So you can look at it, you know, in your particular location as well. And I believe, Karen, did you say that was the last question on redistricting? Okay.
Indeed, they're taking it easy on you guys today.
Yeah, this is a really important part of the political process. And I take closing comments from Senator Hughes and Stephanie Klick, Chairman Klick.
Well, I know I've already talked too much, as I tend to do on these calls, but getting to connect with like-minded people who are doing the work. You know, a number of folks, and I can't tell you how special it is, a number of folks have congratulated us, you know, called and texted about Senate Bill 1. And I just like I told Tony Ann, this is our victory. And I don't mean the politicians on the call. I mean all of us. I mean, that sounds cliche, but it has never been truer. The forces that were arrayed against us to get this bill passed were like we've never seen. And Governor Abbott, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Speaker Phelan, and our grassroots people on this call and people like you stood firm, and we kept moving forward. We weren't distracted or put off course by the lies put out by the DC talking points, by the national media. And by God's grace, it worked like it was supposed to work. I'm going to brag about this session, not because of me, but because by God's grace, all of us together accomplished more than we've seen in, I'm going to say, in modern history. The election reform, my goodness, the heartbeat bill, Second Amendment victories, so much we could talk about. And again, they're our victories. They're all of our victories. And so if you don't remember anything else I've said, to those of you on this call, for all you've done, all you do, my message to you is thank you, thank you, thank you.
Chairman Klick.
This has been a hard 9 months, getting many priorities accomplished this session. The election bill, probably one of the most difficult to get done. And your phone calls and engagement on social media on these issues have been so important. We've still got work to do, and stay engaged. Use your voice.
Thank you. And thank you. I know Representative Jetton had to get off, but thank you, Chairman Klick. Thank you, Senator Hughes. And
Besa, can I chime in real quick? I apologize.
Let me,
okay,
I need to
sure.
wrap up, Leslie. But
Yeah.
Thanks so much to the whole legislature for everything they've done. And thanks to the grassroots and the governor's, thanks to the governor's support too, because, he was adamant. He was going to call them back into session until they got it passed. And so I think all of that is very important. And now we look forward to redistricting. And I know Tony Ann wants us to keep our emphasis on redistricting and see if we can't make sure that our voices are heard. Let's not be quiet, even though we're not experts on this issue. We all have opinions and we all know. What did you want to say, Leslie?
So I know we're shifting our focus to redistricting. Do we know, has Governor Abbott indicated when the next session is going to be called? Does anybody have that? I haven't heard or seen anything in the media.
I don't know if there's an official word, but we expect it to be late September. We're hearing a lot about September 20th. I don't believe it's been officially released, but expected in mid to late September. So at this point, that's not official, but that's what we expect.
Is he going to add some of the items that didn't make it, or is it just going to be redistricting?
Yes, he is. And I'm glad you mentioned that I know it's late, but I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the issues that was not in Senate Bill 1 is the 2020 forensic audit. A lot of us care about that. And so the Senate passed Senate Bill 97 by Senator Bettencourt. We passed it yesterday, late in the process, for good audits going forward and forensic audit for 2020. The governor's indicated he's going to add that to the call of the special session. And yes, we expect him to, we wouldn't be surprised if he added other things that didn't make it. Most of the big stuff got done, most of it. But yes, those matters that didn't make it this time, the governor, we expect him to add more of those issues to the special session on redistricting.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the information. And we plan on having another call next Friday. We'll get that call out. And our call to action is sign up, make sure that you testify. And then the other call to action is be involved in your counties. Be aware of how your counties are redistricting their precincts, and get your voice in the room on that one as well. So thank everybody for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. And Tony Ann sent her wishes, good wishes to everyone. And I know she said thank you for everybody
I thought you were going to be gone by
praying
now.
for her and doing, making sure that she's in y'all's prayers as well. So thank y'all, and we'll see y'all next week.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank y'all.
Besa.